Today's new topic is going to start with, I'm going to say calculators are okay. Raise your hand. Do not shout out your answer. Raise your hand when you've got it. You may use a calculator. By the way, what do two parentheses next to each other mean? Mean to do what? Multiply. You may start at any time. You may start at any time. You may use your calculator. The problem is continuing over here. Do not shout your answer. Raise your hand. You may use your calculator. You may use your calculator. Do not shout out the answer. You may raise your hand when you're done. I was hoping for participation, not just people just raising their hand thinking they knew the answer. I got 4 people who think they're already done. Keep your hands up. The rest of you keep going. Boy, you people can type stuff in faster than I thought. I'd only be like on 12 now. It's crazy. And like some people were done like so fast. Oh my goodness, now some people are finally catching up. Oh my goodness. Would please, the people that had their hand up right off the bat, say out loud what the answer to that problem is. Oh my goodness. Is anything times 0 equal 0? So all of that mess there is important until it gets to that one point right there, and you multiply. Oh my goodness, it equals 0. It equals 0. Oh my goodness. So following up on factoring is something called the zero product property. If you had me before in Algebra 2, we call it the big T. And you'll notice that it's going to look like a big T. Well, here's why the zero product property is so darned easy. This is why it's so darned easy. If you have a number times a number, and I want it to equal 8. You know what's one of the possibilities? If this is a 2, that would be a 4. Oh, you know what another one of the possibilities is? If that's a 1, that's a 8. You know what another one of the possibilities is? If this is a half, this is 16. Wow, there's a lot of great ways that could work. In fact, how many ways are there? 3, 4, 5, in, f, n, t. Are there an infinite amount of ways that work here? So if this says equals 8, there's an infinite amount of ways to make both of those things. But if this says equals 0, and by the way, those of you who've got an attitude, this is great for you. If you're taking 0 times, you know what the correct answer is? I don't care. If you don't care, you're right. Because could that be 7? Could that be 28? Oh, if your attitude is, I don't care, this is the problem for you. Because if that's a 0, I don't care, anything's going to work. And there's one other option. Well, that was fun and squeaky. If that's 0, what does that have to be? Doesn't matter to me. You're right. It could be anything. So, the zero product property, we like to call it the big T because it looks like a big T. We'll start out, and I believe what I'll be doing is, I think what I told you before, we may have seen this idea before, but now we're going to do the idea and take it maybe a step further. So here's our first one. I have already factored earlier today. All right. Those of you that don't care, if this one is worth 0, what does that one have to be? Doesn't matter. Whatever you want. I mean, even like some Eastridge kid would get that right, and I know I'm recording this. All right. Hey, if this is 0, what does this have to be? Doesn't matter. Whoa, today is the day if you don't care. So what we do once it's already factored is we do the zero product property. In this class, we like to call it the big T because you see it looks like a big, see it looks like a big T? That's why we call it looks like a big T. Okay, I mean real teachers will call it zero product property. And we simply say 3x minus 8 equals 0, and we solve it. Add 8 to both sides. 3x is 8. X equals 8 over thirds. Well, if x is 8 over thirds, that makes this worth 0. So do we have to figure out what this is worth? Doesn't matter. If this is worth 0, when you multiply, the whole thing's worth 0. So here's one of our possible answers. Here's our other possible answer. Maybe this is worth 0. Or x plus 11 equals 0. Let's see. Bless you. Hey, if that is worth 11, that makes that 0. What does it make that? I don't care. Doesn't matter. If one of them is 0. So that's what we do if it's already factored. If it's already factored, then we just do the big T, the zero product property, if a real math teacher is looking in. All right, the next thing that could happen is we might have to factor something first. We might have to factor it first, and I'm asking you to solve x squared minus x minus 12 equals 0. All right, so this would be what I would consider an easier factoring problem, and we've been just factoring, I mean, that's what we've been doing. I want this to multiply to be negative 12. I want this to add to be negative 1. A lot of us are doing these rather quickly in our head, which is awesome, especially the easy ones. I think negative 4 and 3 fit that bill. They multiply to be negative 12. They add up to be negative 1. That's awesome. Hey, when we have a 1 here in front, we just jump to the answer. X minus 4, x plus 3 equals 0. We do the zero product property, which we call the big T. And now we simply take x minus 4 equals 0. X could equal 4. What does the other part equal? I don't care, it doesn't matter. One of the parts is 0. We write x plus 3 equals 0. Take away and x is negative 3. So if it's factored, set them equal to 0. If it's not factored, factor, then set them equal to 0. Well, hi. All right, I hope you got your driver's license. Did you? Did you get your driver's license? Oh, that's the only acceptable reason that you could have been gone. Good. You weren't at a funeral, were you? What? You weren't at a funeral, were you? Well, some of you I haven't told this story. This was one of my worst ever moments in my teaching career. Some kid comes in like this, or comes in late or was absent one day. You got to be here. We got a test. You're getting behind all this stuff. So I said to this kid, and this kid goes, "I'm sorry, my grandmother died on a day inconvenient for math." I felt so bad. So now I usually make sure that it's not a funeral before I yell at you. So that's an improvement I've made, because I should. Let's see, we got a few more minutes before we switch. Let's see, it's going to be a little more here. So we're going to say solve. The directions are simply solve. All right. Say, if I take something, there's going to be two answers because of the squared, something times something, and I want it to be negative 10x. Could it be negative 5 and 2x? Could that be it? Could it be negative 1 and 10x? Could it be 10 and negative 1x? Could it be all those things? Could it be all those things? There's a lot of things there. What would be easier if that said what? If it said equals 0, it could be a lot easier. So before you begin, let's add 10x to both sides and make it say equals 0, because that means we're just down to two possibilities. We've gone from a bunch. Put that 10x where it belongs in standard form. Once it says equals 0, that makes things much more, it's not a word, I mean a phrase, a sentence. I'm going to go through the process again. You want it to multiply, to be 9, add to be 10. Let's see, well that's 1 and 9. So here's the process again, 3x squared. I'm going to replace this with those two, plus 1x plus 9x plus 3 equals 0. Groups of 2, groups of 2. X is in common. This is what we've been doing all the days. X divided by x is 1. Looks like a 3 comes in common. 3x plus 1. I'm going fast on this because we've done this a lot. And this becomes x plus 3 over 3x plus 1 equals 0. If you have a real teacher, they'd say do the zero product property. If you have a fake teacher, they'd say do the big T. And Gabby Miller, you've been gone, call it big T because it looks like a big, yeah. Okay. Hey, x equals negative 3. What does the rest of it equal? I don't care, because it doesn't matter. If that one's 0, doesn't matter. Cool. Quickly check your phones while I stop this recording.